So, unipolarity. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, it's I guess my science model is monotheistic, so it's monopole.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, but it comes down to a single atom, right? A single atom system. Um, and I'm not saying that there's only one atom. I'm just saying I'm only smart enough to look at one atom at a time in order to
Right.
understand how to integrate the gravitational force into the strong force through inversion. So I'm only able to really look at the details in that housed ring system, in that Faraday cage system of the aromatic ring. So that's a
Yeah.
one atom. It's a one atom system. So
Okay.
I would
Okay.
definitely say that my science model is monotheistic
Right.
because of the one atom
Yes.
quantum locality, right? In that ring system, that hexagon ring system only has room for one atom. And so it's not behaving in our understanding of how atoms behave. It's behaving as an isotope. It's unstable in there, but it releases energy in that isotope decay system, and it comes back to a stable state when it does that. So
Right.
that energy
Okay.
to do work, right? So I'm saying that that is the animistic aspect of biology is due to the instability of the atoms giving the energy to do stuff.
Right.
So, I've been taught biochemistry from the perspective of stable atoms. If we look
Yes.
at that cosmological model of hot Big Bang nuclear synthesis, then the atoms that we have today are the atoms that we're going to have for the rest of the entire universe. It's like there's no more creation occurring in that hot Big Bang nuclear synthesis where there's been there's more matter than antimatter, so now we have a matter-based universe. That's the rationale that's gone into that model, right? And so I'm saying if we look closer, then we can understand that there's a process that's occurring, and it's a process where light is turned into the
Mhm.
structure of an atom. So in a way,
So how do we pass from the atomic structure, the unipolar atomic structure um, to spirituality and faith? We discussed that in the last. We're looking at light.
Yeah, we're looking at light. We're
We're looking
looking
at light.
Yeah, we're looking at light, but we're also looking at the role that hydrogen plays in our biology.
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
and so the metaphor of the passion of Christ
Mhm.
is also seen in the hydrogen biology of isotope formation connected to the high electron ring system of the hexagon. So in a way,
Right.
there's a process. I'm not going to get into the mechanistic details of the process because that turns people off. They kind of can't connect to what I'm saying. But there's a metaphor between the passion of Christ and formation of isotopes.
Right.
So, this process that's happening within us is happening through the flow of light. So
Right. Right.
light is intimately connected to what we see.
Right.
And so we are having to I was thinking this morning about how humanity's been enslaved through Western thinking of materialism. So we've been really taught to think of the materialistic body, the matter-based body. Matter has mass.
Right.
And because I've rearranged Einstein from E equals mc squared, where energy equals mass times the speed of light squared,
Yeah.
and changed it to, well, light squared equals electromagnetic interaction at right angles to each other on a cross. I'm saying the cross in an atom is important for isotope physics processes. And that's what hydrogen is doing. Hydrogen, in a sense, on the atomic cross of the amine, NH3 plus, is raining down into the ring system, the garden.
Right.
So that's kind of like a Garden of Eden, right? It's that place where Adam and Eve, Adam being the proton, Eve being the electron, where the proton and the electron are being formed in the Garden of Eden. So we have a tree as the cross. We have 3 hydrogens on that tree, and those hydrogens go into one at a time, one hydrogen at a time. So the hydrogen with the 2 protons, 2 electrons in a cross geometry, traveling into the Garden of Eden. In that Garden of Eden, there's a process, because we've got essentially the vortex of the aromatic ring system spinning round. It's protecting the garden. It's protecting the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And so we have the proton and the electron being formed in there from 2 photons of light coming from hydrogen. And so there's a process where this vortex in that ring system helps to tie the 2 photons into a proton with the 3 quarks, an electron, into Adam and Eve. So I'm saying that the biblical stories are teaching us the physics of isotopes that are happening within our biology.
Right.
The role that Christ plays is the 3 crucified, the 3 hydrogens on the amine. When the amine is functioning, it's delivering hydrogen into the garden, into that aromatic ring system. And it's that system that's providing a quantum location within our biology. So only one atom can be there. It can't have more than one. There's only room enough for one. And it's that in that place, in that garden, that creation is actually being made.
Okay.
Creation of new isotopes. And those isotopes are unstable, so they release energy. So they come back to balance. So that's why we're sleeping at night. We need to sleep, because when we're sleeping, we're not putting hydrogen into the atom. We're not making them unstable. They come back to stable and release their energy back out again at night when we're sleeping. So the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve as the proton and the electron, give a way of looking at, well, there's a way of, I experience the breaking the garden open, right? The aromatic ring broke open and I released my trauma. And it was so much energy, right? So you experience the actual process of being destroyed, right? Your self-destruction.
Yeah.
And I witnessed that, and that gave me the information I needed to understand my model in science that I knew based on what I was taught was inconsistent with the experience that I had. So I couldn't use that information. So that's why I've kind of gone to the biblical terminology and integrate that with my scientific philosophical perspective. So that's why I've had to look for the connections between the Bible and science in order to kind of go, does the experience that I have relate to experiencing Christ's second coming, that radioactive decay process? Did I have that experience because I'm using a honey-based product, and that honey-based product has this power of producing a hydroxy radical that can open up the ring of a neurotransmitter by hydroxylating it, breaking it open, and releasing that light from the garden, right? So in a way, the honey, Manuka honey product I've been using, and you know, that's what's energizing my body. That's what's keeping me healthy. I'm using product as a way of breaking down the old parts of me and releasing that. It breaks it into CO2 and water. So it's converting cells into CO2 and water as part of cell death, a natural cell death that happens in our bodies. So all of a sudden I'm going, well, when we read the creed and we go, begotten, not made, consubstantial with the Father, through him all things were created. When I hear that now, I go, well, I refer to hydrogen and I go, well, hydrogen in this quantum tunneling system is making atoms. So are the atoms of our body being generated because of the ability of our body to turn hydrogen into isotopes and grow atoms in that unconscious part of our mind, which is outside of the neuron? So it's in that water environment outside of the cell. So I've been looking at science through hydrogen biology, and hydrogen's enough to quantum tunnel. It's able to, in a way, use the wavelengths in its structure to move through boundaries. And so, and what I discovered in the Manuka Honey system was this photofenton chemistry. And what happens is that there's iron in the ring system, one atom of iron, and then that there's a photon of light that changes that iron from a form which isn't reactive to a form that is reactive. So it's highly reactive. It's gone from Fe3 to Fe2. And then in the presence of hydrogen peroxide, that iron reacts to produce the hydroxy radical. And it's that hydroxy radical system that's breaking the biology back down into CO2 and water as it hydroxylates the ring and opens it up. So I had firsthand experience of what that meant for me to release the trauma that was held in that atom that had been growing as part of a memory of my mum and the suicide that she went through, right? So I had that trauma as the 11-year-old. I managed to suppress it and get back up on my feet, become a scientist, go through years of, learning and research, and then work on a Manuka Honey product that I didn't know how it was working. Nobody told me that it was going to give me this spiritual experience. I was told that it had some good properties for a person's mental health and well-being, but I didn't know mechanistically how it worked. And then to have that experience to go, well, hold on, I'm grounded in the Western society's thinking of materialism, of an external physical world. And here I've had an experience of seeing light in my mind as a vision that wasn't consistent with my understanding of science at the time. So I've had to kind of go, well, I can't do materialistic science anymore. I understand that there's this whole new quantum physics area, which is non-Newtonian, but I'm not a mathematician. I haven't been trained in physics. So I kind of reverted to comparing science to comparing religion. As a practicing Catholic, as somebody that was baptized in 2010, not growing up with Catholicism at all, but I was growing up essentially agnostic, and then found my way through being married to a Catholic.
Right.
So I've been baptized for 10 years. So my pathway to this kind of revelation that I had and releasing that trauma has not been straightforward. It's not been kind of laid out for me. I've kind of had to learn to navigate my own path based on the experiences that I have, right? And that's kind of what is happening when your mind records everything. Your mind is recording the experiences of your life. And then all of a sudden, that trauma experience in my life as an 11-year-old gets released. And from that perspective, I got to witness the physics happening in the mind, in the unconscious part of my mind, that was responsible for storing that memory. So that monotheistic aspect, the unipole single atom system, became the unstable atom system that's responsible for storing light and then releasing light. And that corresponds to the time reversal symmetry system operating in isotopes. So it's grounded in a known physics mechanism of time reversal symmetry in atoms, to think, well, hey, biology built really off of the processes operating in physics. It's not built from DNA. It's not built from RNA and protein at all. You actually have to reveal the lower layers, the underlying physics that's actually operating. And when you go, well, in DNA, there's the hydrogen bond are the protons that are being used potentially to create stuff. So when it breaks the chains apart, it's breaking the hydrogen bonds, which can then be utilized. So all of a sudden, it's not like a physical thing that's, oh, here comes an enzyme, it's making RNA, and RNA travels out of the nucleus and goes to the ribosome. It knows how to go there and get there already. What we're looking at is really the processes that are templating the biology. So the light field that's created within the structure of an atom templates the biological process that evolves through time. So all of a sudden, it was like able to turn back time to look at the initial process, which then results.
Okay, well, let's leave it at that for tonight.
Yep.
But next time, I will ask you about your conception of time.
Sounds good. Until next time.
No. Until next time. It's been a pleasure, as usual.
Yep. Thanks, Alex. Okay, you enjoy your evening at the pub.
Yes, thanks. Okay, cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.